I think it's fair to say that lately, over the last couple of weeks, NXT really hasn't set the bar very high in terms of what bar I usually expect it to set. And, you know, some of the shows have been a bit and just not exactly great to watch. You know, granted, it's only an hour, so it doesn't really matter all that much, you know, whether it's a bad show or a good show. Essentially, it's only an hour, as the Slag Daddy says on his NXT reviews. But this week, I felt the show was much improved. I felt it flowed nicely. There was a lot more variety in the show. We had a promo segment. We had video packages, singles matches, tag matches. Just a lot more variety in the show in terms of characters. We had a very hot crowd as well, which helped the show. So I thought this show this week was pretty damn good. I will say that. And if you have any thoughts or comments on this show, please put them down in the comment section below as per usual. It's very nice for wrestling shows to open up a little bit differently sometimes. And, you know, with Raw, you'll generally get an authority promo. On TNA, you'll get an authority figure promo. On SmackDown, I'm not really sure what you get, but I'm sure it has some kind of promo which leads to the main event segment of the evening. You don't very often get females starting off a show, and NXT is one of those shows where they quite often do actually have, you know, divas start off the show. With this match in particular between Bayley and Summer Rae being a #1 contendership match, it was perhaps the second most important and most consequential match on the show, so it deserved one of the two more important segments of the show, which is essentially in an hour of wrestling, is the opening segment and the main event segment. And I thought this, you know, this match was pretty good between Bayley and Summer Rae. It didn't go too long, but in my opinion, it didn't really need to. It didn't need to go 10 minutes or anything like that. You just needed to give Summer Rae a good win here to set her up for her feud with Charlotte, as it seems now she is the #1 contender. So Summer Rae, like I said, will be facing Charlotte as a heel. She was a heel in this match against Bayley, which makes a lot of sense. You're never really going to out-babyface Bayley, but I do wonder, how are they going to package Charlotte now? We've just seen Charlotte, you know, leave Sasha Banks and, you know, get rid of the BFFs, getting her on a singles run now. Is she going to be packaged as a babyface, especially going up against Summer Rae, who she has a lot of history with, you know, the former BFF leader versus the, I'm guessing now, current new incarnation of BFF leader in Summer Rae as a heel. So this feud makes a lot of sense from a history standpoint, and it really should be a good feud. I'm just curious as to how they're going to package Charlotte in this, whether it be a babyface or a tweener or something like that. So WWE surprised the hell out of me this week and had Sin Cara facing a jobber on this week's edition of NXT. Maybe that's where you should have put the original Sin Cara for 6 months to a year before they just brought him straight up to the main roster for him to botch almost every single fucking move he did before eventually they had to release the guy. You know, I thought they got rid of the whole Sin Cara gimmick. I guess there's still some kids out there buying the masks and the gear and stuff, and they still see some kind of profit or money they can make out of this gimmick. I don't know. But Sin Cara, or Sin Cara, as we should probably call him, got the victory here. And, you know, I really think if Sin Cara is going to be on NXT now, let's see him at least have some kind of face-off or match or some sort of tag team match with Kalisto. You know, these two very similar lucha characters at some point, in my opinion, need to meet up and be in the same segment on a show if this is where the Sin Cara gimmick is going to stay for the foreseeable future. Plus, that is something that I would at least like to see, which is saying a lot because I really don't care all that much for Sin Cara. Apparently, WWE is going to be making a major announcement on Friday, the 11th of July, and it's going to be the fact that they're signing Kenta. 2 questions. Who is Kenta, and is he any good? Please tell me down in the comment section below. But unfortunately, I do not watch Japanese wrestling, or in this particular case, New Japan Pro Wrestling, or No, or whatever it is. So you'll have to tell me in the comment section below, please. So right at the beginning of this review, I touched on the fact that there was a lot of variety in this show. And one of the ways NXT did this was they had a promo segment. You know, a promo segment on NXT. You know, they don't usually do this. So it was nice to see 2 guys in the ring having a promo segment on NXT. You know, eventually these guys are going to have to learn to talk on the mic and do some sort of promo segment, as it is a very simple way of continuing a story. But this is quite rare on NXT to have like an undercard to mid-card feud have some kind of promo segment. So that for me was very refreshing. And There was nothing special here. There was nothing great here. It was just simple mic work, continuing a story. CJ Parker comes out to say sorry to Xavier Woods for what he said to him last week, you know, saying that the adrenaline was rushing after his match. Woods isn't having it. CJ Parker attacks him. The heel gets one up on the babyface. It's very simple. It's something we see a lot in TNA and mainstream shows, but we don't see it too much in NXT. But at some point down the line, the superstars in NXT are going to need to learn how to do this if they're going to make it to the main roster. And this is something, in my opinion, NXT need to do much, much more often. They should at least have one promo segment like this on each of their shows, in my opinion. So like I said, nothing great here, just a simple promo segment that on a show which is generally filled with wrestling felt very refreshing. Now NXT, you've done the whole sign thing with CJ Parker now, you know. Now let's take this a little bit of a step further. You want to establish this CJ Parker hippie, you know, doing this for the environment bullshit that he's doing. Make some vignettes with CJ Parker of every week, him trying to force his environmental views on people and maybe going out and trying to save animals or trying to reduce carbon emissions or going out there and telling people with, you know, massive, you know, cars that aren't hybrid that they need to go get themselves electric cars and save the planet. That would make this character feel so much better than it currently is. Even though the CJ Parker gimmick, like I said, his stock is slightly rising, and I'm starting to care about the guy just a little bit more every week, which, considering I used to see him as my buzzkill, is a compliment and a half. Tell you there, YouTubers, how is one doing on this fantastic day? The Vaudevillains vignette was very, very entertaining. Do more of these, please, NXT. Do these every damn week. They are incredibly entertaining. Another great way of getting this very entertaining tag team on the NXT show every week. Do more of these, please, NXT. And by the way, they did this part of the show with the commentators mentioning the Vaudevillains maybe being the next challengers to the tag titles, which are currently held by the dominant and longest reigning NXT tag team champions, The Ascension. It looks like maybe sooner or later, this may be some kind of tag team championship feud, which is fine by me, because you have, you know, a semi-interesting heel character whose stock has kind of gone down because they've had no real people to feud with on the babyface side. And on the babyface side, you've got very entertaining characters, you know, that probably were coming in as heels, but have become incredibly entertaining to the point where they're pretty much over as babyfaces, even though they've only really been in 2 or 3 matches since they've been on NXT, because they're that damn entertaining. So this was another different way on NXT of using simple, you know, production and, you know, cutting to the commentators, etc., to set up some kind of future feud on the show. It's sometimes just quite simple how adding variety into the show really helps the flow of the show so much. Man, this is bullshit. Bull Dempsey can get a push, but my man Angelo Dawkins can't and has to do the job? Man, this is fucking bullshit. I will say that, you know, and this Bull Dempsey, remember, is the same guy that a couple of months ago couldn't get into Sylvester Lefaux's clan because of his ears. Just saying. And Bull Dempsey obviously is on this massive push right now in NXT. Still don't really know how to feel about the character yet. He's your very typical, you know, big heel dominant character. And he's not going to stop until he's NXT champion, so he may be on NXT for quite a long time. Which I guess could be a good thing for all you people out there. But the problem is now, so many gimmicks and characters that were good in NXT, like the Wyatt family, Cesaro, you know, Damien Sandow, and all those other gimmicks, the Shield, like that, etc., have been brought up to the main roster. So it's got to the point where WWE are having to, you know, really dig deep into their character roster on NXT, and they're having to start making characters, you know, out of them. The talent pool may not be as good as it was, you know, 1, 2, maybe 3 years ago, but they've got to try and at least do something new with some of the people they've got on there. Otherwise, what's the point in hiring the people that they've got? So I'm willing to give Bull Dempsey a chance. You know, I'm just not feeling the character right now as much as I do many of the other characters on NXT. Right, people, I want your predictions in the comment section below. When will Tyler Breeze recover from this career-threatening finger injury of his? No doubt he'll return much quicker than he really need to, and cash in that title shot he has. Will he A, cash it in within a month? Will he B, cash it in within 2 months? Or will he C, cash it in at the next big show WWE or NXT will do on the WWE Network? vote down in the comment section below. Now, you know, lately a lot of main events on NXT really haven't had much setup and haven't really had much hype. So this week's main event on NXT, you know, actually did have some setup. It actually did have some hype. You know, we had some setup from the way the main event finished last week, which led to this week's tag team main event. We had pre-match interviews, including Sami Zayn doing a way better job than Devin Taylor and interviewing Adrian Neville himself, only to give the mic back to Devin Taylor, who had no idea what to do. We had interviews also with Justin Gabriel and Tyson Kidd, as well as a Tyson Kidd and Natalya, you know, interviewed at the talking segment they did backstage. So there's a lot of different storylines and angles and things going on here. And NXT are now at least doing a little bit to make me care about Justin Gabriel as well, which is something they desperately needed to do, as I really didn't care for him all that much when he returned to NXT for what I felt was just no apparent reason. Also, another little story that could be developing here. I think it's quite interesting that the one thing Sami Zayn wants more than anything else is he's gone on record to say that, you know, was on his tag team partner's shoulder when he came down to the ring. You know, we learned on this show that, you know, Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn will always have each other's back and have been very good friends, but it's also quite interesting that what Sami Zayn wants, his good friend and person whose back he has on his shoulder whenever he comes down to the ring. Another little interesting little story thing there. Pretty damn good main event I felt here. Pretty good, you know, tag team action. You know, you expect that between these four guys in the ring. Also a very clever finish as well, with Tyson Kidd using Natalya getting knocked off the apron to capitalize on Sami Zayn's, you know, kindness. And Tyson Kidd was very, very, very happy with the win. Much more happy than you thought he really would be, being a, you know, main roster player that he is, getting a win over an NXT guy. And I think Tyson Kidd has been, you know, listening to Bo Dallas, and I think he may be believing. And I think this is the great, you know, this is the great charisma and the great, you know, influence that Bo Dallas has over all people out there. You know, Tyson Kidd previously losing all of his matches, not going anywhere. He started believing, and now he's beating the top two baby faces on NXT right now. That's believing for you. And I really want to end this review with a little bit of a discussion. I talked about Adrian Neville in the main event. Well, not really, because I didn't really feel like I need to. And I had a discussion with some people, mainly Ross, Gold Standard 000, and Chase Oliver 68, on Twitter about Adrian Neville's title reign. A lot of people seem to think that his reign has been quite boring, and to be honest with you, I have to side with Ross and Chase on this, and I do think that Adrian Neville's title reign has been very boring, and I think it's mainly because there's not really much to Adrian Neville apart from, you know, high spots and good matches. You know, you can't put him in a promo segment. He doesn't really have a real standout personality or gimmick which really captivates the audience. You know, at this point in time, I really think that, you know, at some point soon he's going to have to drop that title because, like I said, you don't really get the feeling that Adrian Neville is really the main man and, you know, the top guy on the roster, you know, with the NXT Championship right now. And I think, to be honest, the only real person you can put it on is Sami Zayn, who is proving himself to be, you know, better on the mic. He's having just as good a matches than Adrian Neville. He's better personalities-wise. We see that in the promo segments he's in, the backstage segments he's in, the interview segments he's in. And I think Sami Zayn is more over than Adrian Neville. So he's got so many things going for Sami Zayn over Adrian Neville. The only problem with Sami Zayn is I think it will be very similar to Daniel Bryan in the sense that, you know, the chase will be fantastic and it, you know, has been to a certain degree whenever they put emphasis on it. But as soon as he wins the title and gets his reign in NXT, it probably won't be all that. So that's one of the reasons why maybe I wouldn't give it to Sami Zayn. I wouldn't give it to Tyler Breeze at this point. I don't think he's a believable enough character to really hold the NXT Championship, just in my personal opinion. So I don't really know what NXT can really do with that championship right now. But I do agree with Ross, Gold Standard 000, and Chase Oliver 68 that Adrian Neville's title reign has, you know, not really been very eventful. There's not really too much you can do with Adrian Neville, really, like I said, other than matches and, you know, basic promo segments, which really aren't that great because he can't really talk or deliver on the mic, possibly due to his Geordie accent. I don't know.